Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest growing mortgage investment firms, and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union Realty. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Now you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions. Today's trivia theme is miscellaneous trivia. Got to keep you guys in suspenders. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T 99, Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 6 p.m.
I came across some interesting articles over the week as I'm going through my usual real estate related blog posts, and with how real estate has just been on fire for seems so many years now, it's a lot of it does feel like 2005 all over again, and many of us in the real estate business, hopefully are not forgetting, what it was like during the crash years of 2008, 2009. But interestingly enough, I was looking at an article that came out this week about the national foreclosure inventory, and it's down, as you might guess. I mean, we've talked about, in years past, maybe there's like a shadow inventory. We may actually see more foreclosures, and that never really happened after the big foreclosure wave of like 2009, 2010. We never really had that second or third wave ever come back, and in fact, foreclosure activity now pretty much mirrors, normal activity for a normal real estate market. But I thought this was interesting. There were a couple of things in here that I thought were worth mentioning. One that, foreclosure inventory is down 28%, and actual completed foreclosures, that's so the 28% is the foreclosure inventory. So that's what the banks are holding. So that's down 28%, and then actual foreclosures that are being completed in real time right now by the banks is down year over year 25%. And what's interesting about it is the number of foreclosures in July of 2015. This past July was 38,000 compared to nearly 120,000 foreclosures, which was the peak in September 2010. And since the financial crisis began, they say here in this article in September of 2008, there have been approximately 6 million homes that were foreclosed throughout the country. So it's just interesting to, those statistics. I mean, those are real statistics, and it's not completely, foreclosures are not like over. There's still foreclosures happening, and we still get calls at Pacific Private Money all the time from people who, the reason why they need a loan is because they had a fairly recent foreclosure. And
in the Bay Area, though, it's pretty much over. Not
much.
In
the Bay Area, and in California, this report about the foreclosure inventory was really a nationwide report.
Right.
I was actually looking for California statistics, and they were so low as to be almost negligible. So you're absolutely right about that. But that leads me to another article that may portend a slight increase or bump again in future foreclosures, and that the title of the article is "More than half of the current HELOCs are facing payment shocks over the next 2 years." Now, the reason for that is there was a slew. I don't know how many a slew is. There was a slew of HELOCs originated from 2005 to 2007. In fact, the amount of HELOCs originated between 2005 and 2007 make up more than 54% of all the current HELOCs that still exist.
I'm in one of those.
And it turns out 600,000 of them over the next 6 months are going to term out of their 10-year.
There it is. I'm exactly right there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not all of those people are going to be able to afford that new payment. What happens at a term out at 10 years is that, A, they can call the note, but B, oftentimes there's a provision in there where the payments revert to a rather fast amortizing loan payment. So you go from interest only to suddenly maybe a 5-year amortization, and if you've got a couple $100,000 owed, that could be a massive sticker shock. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, and whether or not maybe the banks come up with some loan programs for people like that. What if they're underwater? What happens then? As you've pointed out, Edward, on many shows over the last several years, is there are still a lot of people underwater that have just continued to make their loan payments, and many of them do have a first and a second. and
Yeah,
they're
they
making.
don't want to lose their house.
Yeah, right. And
Right.
so what if they're still potentially owing more than the house is worth, or there's not enough equity in there for them to actually sell and have enough money to buy the next house? So I would imagine that we're going to see maybe a little blip as a result of these terming out HELOCs. So stay tuned.
So, yeah, I think that's more prevalent in like the sand states like California and Arizona. And yet in the Bay Area, we're seeing very, very few. I do know actually some people as well that are still in their houses. They owe more than it's worth. But here's a core logic fact that came out recently, and we all know this and we wonder, are we there yet? The peak, we've just, as a Bay Area, passed the peak in all of the 9 counties. As of July, we were at, meaning the Bay Area, all 9 counties, a median price of $665. And in July of '07, 8 years later, the peak was $661.
Oh, okay. Right
So
there.
most people, people shouldn't be underwater. And if they're having trouble when that HELOC does come along, they can sell. And I mean, a lot of people don't want to sell, and that's the last thing they want to do. And I'm sure now like Mark said, there'll be some program out there that'll help them. Because once again, the other thing that we have in the Bay Area is the strongest job market in the country. And all we talk about is low inventory. Like CoreLogic came out, yes, low inventory again. In August, in all of the 9 Bay Area counties, our inventory was lower this year than it was last year. And all we could talk about last year is how there is no inventory. And so for 40...
It hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, for 40 straight months now, the Bay Area has had rising prices. So that's like 3.5 years. So, and that being said, being in the fishbowl, in the trenches, I can already see things really changing. And, I don't think, with interest rates with what they are, with the strongest, job market in the world, we're not hitting the wall, but things are definitely changing.
Well, and Patty, you mentioned that, what was it, 40 months of price appreciation? And I've got every month this year of the Case Shiller report going back to December, and I just went and reviewed that again earlier this week for a client. And every month, including the most recent release, which was for July, was between 9.4 and 9.8% year-over-year Bay Area appreciation. So for the better part of the last year, we've been essentially at or near roughly a 10% year-over-year price appreciation, and the July numbers came in at 9.4% year-over-year price appreciation. So I keep waiting for that slowdown in price appreciation, because the Case Shiller and other indexes, they track that. What's the year over year? And you're looking for a trend, either upward or downward or flat. Well, it's been a flat trend, but it's been a flat trend of 10%, but which I still think long term is not a sustainable, and that scares me.
Right. Well, it already feels like it's changing. Being on the front of it, where you can see how people are behaving, how buyers are viewing houses, how inventory is getting absorbed. Yes, we have low inventory, we have low interest rates, but inventory is just not getting absorbed the way it was. And again, it's a tough time of year. We're coming off of Labor Day.
Yeah.
We have our second selling season starting this weekend, and it should go for 30 to 45 days. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I remember last year, didn't the Thanksgiving slowdown or break, the so-called holiday break, that my recollection is that really never materialized, because what inventory was out there, it almost didn't matter when you put it on the market. You were getting multiple offers, and you could close fairly quickly. There was really no, well, it's the holidays, we got got to wait till January.
I wonder what happens when the trend shakes out a little bit, slows down, if suddenly the pendulum will swing, where it'll be like, gosh, you know what, things are not moving so quickly, and then everybody starts to realize things are not moving quickly, and that changes the whole trend.
When does the pendulum swing from what's clearly been a seller's market now for I don't know how many
3 years,
to a buyer's market?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. What combination of events will cause that pendulum to swing?
And it's all supply and demand.
Yep.
That's true. I've tracked it, year after year, every single month, and they just follow. the curve. So yeah, it's a bad time to sell in the holidays, but there's less sellers and less buyers.
Yeah.
So it all works the same.
Very good. Okay, hey, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and the theme is miscellaneous trivia. What is the medical name for the voice box? The first caller with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What is the medical name for the voice box? All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing with Edward Brown, Mark Hahn, and Patti Cohen. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with the answer. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Patti Cohen. When we get to the first commercial break, we ask this very intelligent medical question. What is the medical name for the voice box? Patti, you knew the answer to that.
The larynx.
The larynx, that's right.
I thought it was vocal cords.
But that's not the medical. What's the medical name for the voice one? You had some good stuff to finish up with.
Well, yeah, I mean, just if you think about, the big question always in investing is, where are we going? So one of the things to look at is, we talked about inventory, we talked about where are the prices, and that's where we are now, but where are we going? So if you look at, this is a CoreLogic study that said nationwide we're going to be adding 16 million additional households formed by 2024 in 9 years. 1/3, and where are they coming from? Who are these people? Well, they're getting back, some of the people getting back into the game are the people that couldn't buy before or lost their houses before or whatever.
Okay.
Almost 1/3 of them are Hispanics. So now they're getting into the game more, and also millennials and baby boomers. And the baby boomers are making significant shifts in, going to one-story houses or moving down, buying a second home. And the millennials have just delayed what baby boomers used to do in their mid-20s. They're now doing in their 30s and later. So in the next 9 years, we're going to have a lot more demand. And, so if we, talking about supply and demand, and when will a glut happen in real estate, and are things going to be changing? So even if we do have that much more inventory, it's going to be absorbed, apparently, with this new study of 16 million more additional households. And then again, what about the job growth? Can they afford it? Another, this is out of a Stanford study, Palo Alto-based Center for Continuing Study of the California Economy says that the Bay Area employment is 10% higher than pre-recession levels. Okay. So what that really means is that middle and high wage jobs are now fully benefiting from the economy.
Well, and we know that the United States and California in particular, we're still every year having a net increase in immigration. So when you add normal natural immigration, you add millennials who are now going to be moving out of mom and dad's houses as they get older. They're finally going to want to join the ranks. People who were homeowners and then were converted into renters during the financial crisis, and all the people who lost, the 6 million people who lost their home to foreclosure. So you've got all these people that are now looking to re-enter the job market because unemployment's low, they're making money, we can afford it. The mortgage rates are still low, but where are the houses? And we've got house price appreciation that is kind of pushing the ability for people to afford those homes, even those that are making money. So usually when you have this dichotomy between demand and supply, normally that means, well, why aren't the builders rushing out to build homes? And that's the thing that just
permit process.
That's the thing that I don't quite
Yeah.
understand, especially in California. Why isn't every other meadow you drive by on 101, 280, 580, why aren't there homes under construction there?
Because there's too much political.
Oh, yeah, there's so much
stuff.
growth.
I mean, look at just Marin.
Well,
trying
Marin,
to get-
we're just like, we're the most anti-growth
Yeah,
county
exactly.
in the Bay Area,
Trying to get
California.
stuff
Yeah.
approved is just ridiculous.
Right, and that's good. I think that's why we're such a desirable place to live. And at the same time, there's still a lot of growth, a lot of shadow inventory, a lot of foreign companies, foreign investors, and national banks and holding companies with a lot of inventory that are going to be gently strategically unloading them in the next few years. So I think it's
Didn't
all.
they already start that?
They did, but I mean, it's still, there's still so much more. Berkshire Hathaway has a lot of stuff. I mean, so I think that, you know, it's good that more people are getting back into the game. And also when we talk additional households, a lot of people combined households, like parents living with kids
yeah.
and vice
Yeah.
versa. So, and immigration, as Mark says. So I think that.
Time to kick your parents out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people struggling. So, yeah, I think hopefully it's all guided and going to unfold in the way it's supposed to, that we won't have a big hiccup. But it seems to, with jobs, with new households, with the inventory that's coming out, it all seems to be working.
Well, and I still say I'm just surprised that there isn't more new home construction. I mean, I know there's, if you drive around the Bay Area, there's still quite a few projects that stalled or stopped, where they actually build the streets and infrastructure. And I keep wondering why, why
Sometimes
haven't a lot of those
the
been?
numbers just don't pencil sometimes. I mean, just the cost of the permit sometimes of a house, for a while there was like $70,000, no matter, even if you had a little house.
Yeah.
And just for a builder, it just doesn't pencil out because you don't get any value out of that.
Well, and also in the really high-end communities like Palo Alto and many in Marin and the East Bay, every builder I know has said, I'm out of the game. You know, what I have to purchase this lot for is ridiculous, because
Yeah.
they're also competing with retail buyers that just want their nice dream house, and they'll remodel it and fix it up, and, land is at a premium.
Good point.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Patty, let's just shoot right in here. We've got an email for you here. And this is kind of tough because this person's being very vulnerable and asking a realtor, but what is the disadvantage of a FSBO?
Well, no, it's a really, really good question. And I think first off is, who wouldn't want to save 6% on a $1 million house? That's
Maybe first
$60,000.
to define for listeners, what is a FSBO?
Oh, a FSBO is a for sale by owner. And for goodness sake, who wouldn't want to be one, really?
Okay.
Who wouldn't want to save $30,000, $40,000, $70,000 on the sale of their house and give it to a realtor? And really good realtors look like they're not doing anything because they make it look easy. So
Yeah, I mean, realtors don't just kind of like sit there watching TV at an open house and then suddenly, boom, do a little paperwork and there you go.
yeah. Well, I have had to say, I've said to people when they said, well, it only took a week, and I said, well, I could make it, and it's 6%. I said, well, I could make it 5%. I mean, I could make it 5%, and we could take 6 months if you'd like,
yeah,
and it really
but
didn't take a
that's-
week. It took 28 years, and that's, like a doctor that gets in there and gets out. They're doing it because they make it look easy because
Exactly right.
Yeah. So back to, again, why wouldn't you want to be a for sale by owner and save, let's call it $60,000? Well, first off, if it were that easy, more people would do it,
That's true.
right? So of those that actually succeed, and there aren't many that even try, chances are they're going to be paying the buyer's agent 3% or 2.5%.
Yeah, it's very rare for there not to be at least one agent involved.
Yes. And then they are going to be paying a trained professional to negotiate against them. And, right. And the buyers that just come along that think they're going to buy it from the for sale by owner, they're taking 6% off the price.
Exactly.
And then they're going to assume the person's desperate. And so that's kind of set. And they're going direct. Now, a buyer's agent is free to the buyer. So they're going direct to the for sale by owner because they have some other problem, like they can't get a loan. And they're looking for some, quote, deal. There are no deals. The for sale by owner thinks they're going to get over what a realtor can and save the commission. So
Got it.
so let's just say real buyers are working in cars with real agents. So you you finally get a buyer, and they're going to have an agent. They probably will. And so you're going to hire a trained professional to negotiate against you, and you've got legal liability. So you're really not saving anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very
Yeah.
good point about the liability, because there may be disclosure issues that a seller doesn't even really think about, but the realtor would, a trained realtor such as yourself,
Yeah.
would be able to point it out.
Yeah, so they don't even know what they're doing. They're going blind. And there are realtors, quite frankly, that don't even want to deal with them, and people think, well, that's not right. They're trying to have a cartel or something. Well, we just don't want to have the exposure because they don't always know what they're doing.
Well, also, there's the emotion, too. It's
Yes.
like, yes, I'm licensed to go ahead and sell my own house, but you know what? When it's your own house,
Yeah.
you just don't want to deal. Someone says, hey, hate those curtains or hate this, and it's like, you don't even want to be there. You
Yeah.
just let have an in-between person, such as the realtor.
Exactly.
So that's the real fallacy, is that someone who's thinking about for sale by owner, really, they're not going to make more money.
Yeah, they're probably going to end up listing it with an agent, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and not to mention all the work and the hassle and what they think they need to do. They think it's all about having Sunday open houses, so they do that every Sunday.
I heard a statistic that only 5% of houses actually sell on the open Sundays. It's usually
Yeah.
the brokers opens on Thursday because you got so many brokers who are
Yes.
working on it.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Okay.
and really, I think it's about 94% of properties trade on MLS, and it doesn't mean that the other 6% are for sale by owner. It just means that brokers are making deals offline.
Offline, yeah.
Sellers want that sometimes for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
at the end of the day, and then not to mention, maybe the for sale by owner is going to do it, but have they priced it correctly? Have they left money on the table? Have they gone
Yeah.
too high? It's not
Good
worth it.
point. How often have you picked up a client who was a for sale by owner who's finally said, you know what, I don't know what I'm
I
doing.
give up.
Yeah.
Well, that is a great question, because I think the bigger question is how often do you see it? And you really, the higher the price range, the less you see it. You see it more in tract areas in the Midwest or Georgia or something. But you don't see it much around here.
Gotcha.
People are too savvy, and they don't cut their own hair. They don't make their own clothes. Like they hire gardeners.
Yeah.
They hire professionals.
All right, we're going to cut to a break, but before we do, though, if someone was interested who, let's say, tried to do for sale by owner, or just in general, someone wanted to get some advice from you or list property with you, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm happy to give out any advice. I'm happy to list any property. And it's Patti Cohn, C-O-H-N, with Pacific Union.
What items of sports equipment are made by Fletcher? I never even heard of this company, but apparently they make some sports equipment. You got to tell me what kind of sports equipment. The first caller with the correct answer is going to win that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer this question.